The barrel of a plasma rifle pressed into Elias Vorn's back, searing hot. He didn't flinch. "Any last words, human?" the alien hissed, mandibles clicking with glee. Elias grinned, blood running down his temple. His voice was low, amused. "Dangerous." "Yeah," he said, laughing as alarms blared through Vorath's maw. "You should have brought more hunters." A sharp beep echoed. Then the floor beneath them shook violently. The barrel of the plasma rifle dug into Elias Vorn's back, pulsing with heat. He didn't move, didn't flinch. His eyes scanned the corridor ahead. Cold metal, flickering lights, the low hum of Vorath's maw breathing its last. "On your knees!" the alien barked, voice thick with anticipation. Elias smirked. "You sure about that?" the hunter snarled, shoving him forward. Elias stumbled, let himself fall hard. His hand brushed against the edge of the floor grate, just where he needed it to be. Above them, the loudspeakers crackled, Karzul's voice slicing through the air like a blade. "Captain Vorn, resistance is over. You are surrounded. Surrender, and your death will be swift." Elias laughed. It wasn't forced. The absurdity of it all, the entire syndicate, a station full of elite killers, cornered by one human who wasn't playing by the rules. They didn't get it. That's what made them weak. He looked up at the alien towering over, him mandibles twitching with impatience. "Swift, huh? You promise?" The hunter growled, raising the rifle. Elias moved, fast. His hand yanked the grate loose, revealing a small panel of wires he'd exposed earlier. One twist, one spark. A sudden shift. The floor beneath them shook, a gravity spike detonating nearby. The hunter stumbled, his aim thrown. Elias surged forward, slamming the butt of the plasma rifle into the alien's throat. It dropped, choking. Elias grabbed the rifle, checked the charge. Half power, enough. He didn't linger. The corridor behind him lit up red as more hunters approached, boots clanging against metal. He ran. The station's AI voice echoed, cold and detached. "Warning! Structural integrity compromised. Sector 7 lockdown initiated." Perfect. Elias ducked into a side passage, sliding into the maintenance shaft. His breath came hard now, adrenaline thinning. He tapped the side of his helmet, opening. "A private channel. Status?" he asked. Static, then a familiar buzz. "Gravity core is stable for now," came the AI's response, dry and clipped. Not for long. Elias grinned, crawling through the tight space. "Prep it. I want the core humming by the time I get there." Understood. A sudden tremor rocked the shaft. Dust fell in lazy spirals. The station was alive with noise, alarms, shouts, gunfire in the distance. He wasn't alone, but he never expected to be. Flashbacks weren't something he welcomed, but they came anyway. The heat of the jungle, the smell of blood and ionized air. His squad, 10 strong, holding the line against impossible odds. Karzul had promised a deal. Safe passage for surrender. They trusted him. Elias didn't. He watched as the others laid down arms. He watched as the aliens opened fire. He remembered the silence afterward, broken only by the hiss of his own breathing. He'd sworn then, never again. The shaft ended near a service panel. Elias kicked it open, emerging into a dim hallway. Ahead, a junction. He knew the layout by heart. He'd spent weeks studying stolen blueprints, prepping for this run. As he moved, he spotted the flicker of movement. A patrol. 3 hunters, scanning. He pressed himself against the wall, waiting. The plasma rifle felt heavier now, or maybe that was just the weight of what he was about to do. They passed. He stepped out, silent as death. One shot, clean through the first's head. The second turned, too slow. Elias fired again. The third lunged, claws out, but Elias sidestepped, slamming the butt of the rifle into the alien's jaw, finishing with a shot to the chest. He didn't pause. Time was bleeding away. Karzul's voice returned. sharper now. You delay the inevitable, human. We know your plan. You won't reach the core. Elias chuckled, wiping blood from his cheek. You don't even know why I'm here. He accessed a control panel, fingers flying over keys. The door ahead slid open, revealing a dark chamber, the old armory, long abandoned but not useless. He moved quickly, grabbing a small charge pack, strapping it to his belt. His eyes landed on an old, Terran blade, rusted but solid. A relic from another failed human. He took it, slipping it into his boot. Gravity core access sealed, the AI intoned. Override. Code, Vorn 17. Override accepted. Elias stepped back into the corridor. The path ahead clear for now. He could feel the tension rising like a storm on the horizon. He reached the last checkpoint, pausing. The gravity here was heavier, the air thinner, signs he was close. His hand went to his wrist, checking the timer. 15 minutes, he keyed his comms. How many left? The AI responded. 17 hunters. Karzul leads. Good. I only need one. He moved again, past the checkpoint, deeper into the heart of the station. The final stretch loomed, a long corridor, doors sealed, lights flickering. At the far end, the entrance to the core chamber. He could feel the hum through his boots, the power surging. Suddenly, the doors hissed open, and there they were. Karzul's elite, armored, armed, ready. Elias didn't stop. He raised the plasma rifle, firing, moving, shouting as he did. The corridor erupted in chaos, blasts tearing through walls and flesh. He ducked, rolled, came up firing again. One by one, they fell. He took hits, felt the burn, but kept going. Then, silence, smoke, and death. He stood, breathing hard, rifle nearly empty. He looked up at the core door. It opened. Karzul waited inside. Elias laughed. Let's finish this. Elias ducked into the core chamber, pulse pounding like war drums in his chest. The heavy door sealed behind him with a hiss, locking out the smoke, the corpses, and the noise of a syndicate too slow to keep up. He had a moment now. Not to breathe, there was no time for that, but to think. The room was massive, cylindrical, with a glowing column of energy in its center. The gravity core. It was alive with motion, humming like a sleeping beast, oblivious to the chaos around it. Elias moved fast, scanning the control panels along the curved walls, fingers twitching, mind already several moves ahead. AI, status, he barked. The station's voice was as cold as ever. Gravity core stable, energy levels nominal, core overload possible, manual input required. Good. Elias's lips curled into a grin. That's why I'm here. He slipped to the nearest console, pulling out a small device from his belt. He connected it, bypassing the alien encryption he'd studied for months. The screen flickered, fighting him, but gave in. Just like they all would. Footsteps echoed in the corridor beyond. Heavy, measured. Karzul. Elias worked quickly, eyes flicking to the side, always listening. The overload sequence was delicate, too fast, and he'd die with them. Too slow. And Karzul would stop him. He needed precision. He needed time. Accessing core instability protocols, the AI droned. Do it! Quietly! His hands moved, sweat slicking his palms. The plan wasn't about brute force. It was about fear, turning this fortress of arrogance into a tombstone carved with their own names. A hiss. The door cracked open behind him. Elias didn't turn. I knew you'd come, he said. Karzul stepped inside, tall reptilian eyes narrowing. His armor gleamed, dark and sharp. The trophies of past hunts hung from his belt, bones, tech, memories of those who failed to resist. You should have run, Karzul growled. Elias didn't flinch. From you? You still think this is about survival? Karzul's claws tapped the hilt of his blade. You're alone, Vorn. No one is coming. Exactly. Elias tapped the console one last time, then faced him fully. And that's why you're afraid. The core flickered, a faint tremor running through the floor. Karzul noticed, eyes narrowing. "What have you done?" Elias raised his hands mockingly. "Just waking the beast." They circled each other now, two predators sizing up their prey. The core pulsed behind them, louder, brighter. "You think chaos makes you strong?" Karzul spat. "I know it does." Elias stepped closer. "Your whole syndicate lives by rules. Order, control. But the moment things don't go according to plan, you fall apart." Karzul lunged, blade flashing. Elias dodged, narrowly, feeling the rush of air as the blade passed his neck. He countered, swinging a pipe he'd grabbed, connecting with the alien's arm. Metal rang against metal. They clashed, the fight brutal, messy, no elegance, just raw will. Karzul struck again, slicing Elias across the side. Pain flared, sharp and cold. Elias staggered but didn't fall. Blood soaked his shirt, but he laughed. Short. "Hard. You bleed," Karzul said, almost surprised. Elias's eyes burned. "So do you." He feinted left, then drove his elbow into Karzul's throat, forcing him back. The alien roared, but Elias didn't give him space. He grabbed the blade's hilt, twisting it, forcing it down. The core's hum grew louder, now shaking the chamber. Karzul glanced back. Just for a second. But enough. Elias headbutted him, grabbing the alien's arm, twisting it until bone cracked. The blade clattered to the floor. They broke apart, breathing hard. Elias stumbled back to the console. "Initiate." "Final countdown," he gasped. The AI responded, "Core overload in 15 minutes. Karzul lunged again, but Elias raised the plasma rifle. His last shot, barrel aimed dead at Karzul's chest. "Stop," Elias warned. Karzul froze. "This place is done," Elias said, steadying himself. "Walk out now, and maybe you live." "You won't," Karzul hissed. "Doesn't matter," Elias said, finger tightening on the trigger. "I've already won." The room trembled, a deep groan from the core as the countdown began. Elias didn't wait for another word. He backed away, never taking his eyes off the alien. "You don't get it," Elias added, voice low. "It was never about me surviving. It was about you remembering this moment every time you think humans are broken." He slipped out the door, sealing it behind him. Karzul's roar echoed, but Elias was gone, moving fast. He limped through the corridors, pain flaring with every step. The station shook, lights failing, alarms blaring now for all to hear. "AI broadcast," he commanded. "Specify message." Elias's voice was hoarse but strong. "To every syndicate channel, let them hear this." "Ready." He stopped, leaning against a wall, catching his breath. "This is Elias Vorn. One human, one station. You couldn't stop me, and you never will." He killed the channel, moving toward the escape pods. The core behind him roared, and Vorath's maw began to die. He smiled. Not because he was safe, but because fear had just changed hands. The hallway ahead twisted, pulsing with flickering lights, the steel walls groaning as the station's heart began to unravel. Elias pressed a hand against his side, the wound hot and wet, slowing him down more than he liked. The gravity core's tremors were constant now, small ripples warning of the storm to come. But he wasn't done. Not yet. He pushed on, stumbling, once, but forcing his legs to keep moving. Each step echoed in the hollow corridors of Vorath's maw, now stripped of their former order. Syndicate hunters were gone, dead or fled, but Karzul remained, and Elias could feel him, stalking somewhere, in the dark. His wrist timer blinked. 13 minutes. He keyed the AI. Status. Core overload in progress. Containment failure imminent. Suggest immediate evacuation. Elias smiled bitterly. Not yet. He reached a junction, stopping for breath. His mind worked faster than his body now. Karzul wouldn't run. Too proud, too obsessed. He'd stay, driven by the need to end what he started. Elias knew the type. Leaders who believed control meant strength. They didn't understand chaos until it tore them apart. Static crackled in his ear. Then a voice, low and deliberate. "You won't leave this place, Vorn." Elias didn't flinch. He leaned against the wall, staring into the shadows. "I didn't plan on it. But you might." Karzul's laugh was dry. "You still think fear wins battles?" Elias pushed off the wall, moving forward again, slower now. "No. Fear's just the spark. What wins is knowing when to light the fire." The path narrowed, leading toward the station's secondary control hub, a place most wouldn't bother with. But Elias had left something there. Insurance. He reached the door, punching in the override code. The panel blinked red, refusing. He cursed under his breath. Karzul had locked him out. A new voice spoke, clearer, colder. Karzul again. "You were always clever, Vorn, but cleverness ends here." Elias scanned the panel, hands working fast. "You sure? Because last time you said that, I buried a whole squad of yours." The lock clicked. The door hissed open. Inside, dim lights revealed what Elias had hidden. Data cores from Syndicate archives, stolen before his squad was wiped out. Proof of their crimes. Evidence of betrayal. And most importantly, coordinates to Syndicate strongholds. He crossed the room, kneeling beside the console, connecting the cores. His fingers moved with practiced speed, despite the pain. He set them to broadcast, encrypted, bouncing off hidden relays across the sector. "AI, transmit package Vorn 7. Transmission. Initiated. Estimated time to completion, 6 minutes. He leaned back, letting out a slow breath. The data would get out, even if he didn't. The door behind him slammed shut. He turned. Karzul stood in the entrance, blade drawn, eyes locked on him. No words now, just a silent, burning intent. Elias stood slowly, body screaming in protest. He dropped the empty rifle, hands loose at his sides. "You followed me here," Elias said, voice steady. "You should have gone with your men." Karzul advanced, blade ready. "I told them I would bring your head, and I will." They closed the distance in a heartbeat. Karzul swung, fast and precise. Elias dodged barely, feeling the blade's edge graze his shoulder. He countered, striking with a fist, but it landed weak. The alien was too strong, too fresh. Karzul pressed his advantage, blows raining down. Elias blocked, deflected, but he was losing ground. Every step back was harder, every breath shallower, but his eyes never wavered. "You fight well," Karzul growled, "for a dying man." Elias spat blood, grinning. "You think this is about me? You think this ends with my body on your wall?" He grabbed a metal rod from the floor, swinging it wide. It clanged against Karzul's blade, sparks flying. "This is bigger than both of us," Elias continued, voice rising. "This is about the next human you try to hunt, the one who hears what I did here." Karzul slammed into him, sending them both crashing to the floor. Elias gasped, ribs screaming. The alien's weight pinned him, blade pressing down, inching, closer to his throat. "I will erase your name," Karzul hissed. Elias didn't resist the blade. Instead, his hand found his wrist device, fingers tapping quickly. "You can try." The floor beneath them jolted violently, the core's pulse now a roar. Karzul hesitated, eyes flicking upward. Elias used that second, driving his knee into the alien's gut, rolling them over. The blade clattered away. They both staggered to their feet, breathless. The console beeped. Transmission complete. Elias's smile was cold. "You lose." Karzul roared, charging again, but Elias was ready. He stepped aside, grabbed the alien's arm, and drove him headfirst into the console. Metal dented. Karzul sagged, dazed. Elias didn't wait. He grabbed the blade, drove it into the control panel, sparks exploding. The door blew open. Elias limped out, leaving Karzul behind. His timer blinked. 4 minutes. The station wouldn't hold. And now, neither would the syndicate. Elias moved through the disintegrating corridors of Vorath's maw, each step slower than the last. His body worn down, his vision blurred at the edges. Every wall seemed to tilt and tremble, the station groaning under the strain of the dying gravity core. Lights flickered, sirens screamed, and somewhere in the distance metal tore like paper. His breath came shallow, the pain in his ribs deepening. But the pain meant he was alive, and that was enough. The broadcast was out. The data, coordinates, secrets, betrayals, it was all flying through syndicate channels now, slipping past firewalls, reaching ears that had never dared to listen before. It wouldn't save him, but it would ruin them. The AI crackled in his ear. Core instability accelerating. Structural collapse imminent. Elias coughed, a bitter laugh escaping. Noted, his eyes locked on a distant sign. Escape Pod Bay 12. He wasn't sure he'd make it, but he had to try. A shadow shifted ahead. He froze. Then a voice, sharp, edged with rage. "You still run, Vorn?" Karzul emerged, slower now, dragging his leg. His armor cracked, scorched. Blood, dark and thick, seeped from a wound above his brow. He wasn't the untouchable hunter anymore. He was just another beast, wounded, desperate. "I don't run," Elias said, straightening. "I finish what I start." They stood, silent, while the world around them shook itself apart. "You think this data will save your kind?" Karzul's voice was raw. "You think exposing us changes anything?" Elias stepped closer, his fists clenched. "No. But it starts something you can't stop," Karzul growled, lunging forward with a sudden burst of speed. Elias braced, taking the hit, both of them crashing into the wall. Pain lit up his side, but he didn't fall. He drove his elbow into Karzul's neck, breaking free. He swung, landing a solid punch to the alien's jaw. Karzul staggered, but didn't fall. He returned with a backhand, knocking Elias off balance. The fight wasn't elegant, it was survival. They traded blows, every strike echoing in the collapsing hall. Blood, sweat, and fury blended in the chaos. Each hit felt final, like the universe might blink out if either of them stopped. Karzul grabbed Elias by the throat, slamming him against the wall. "Your defiance is meaningless," Elias choked, vision darkening. His hands fumbled at his belt, finding a small device, the last explosive charge. With fading strength, he pressed it to Karzul's side. "Not meaningless," Elias rasped. "Just inconvenient." He hit the trigger. A sharp blast threw them both apart. Karzul hit the ground hard, armor shredded. Elias landed on his back, gasping, staring at the fractured ceiling above. The world around them shook again, more violently. The AI spoke once more. "Core breach in 2 minutes." Elias rolled onto his side, forcing himself up, his legs barely held. But he moved, each step dragging him closer to the pod bay. Behind him, Karzul stirred, groaning. Elias didn't look back. He reached the bay, doors ajar, one pod left. Inside, the controls blinked, waiting. He collapsed into the seat, fingers flying across the panel. Systems online, engines primed. He hesitated. His hand hovered over the launch. Then he activated the comms. "To the syndicate," he began, voice hoarse but steady. "I hope you're listening." Static filled the channel, but he continued. "One human, one station. You couldn't stop me, you won't stop the next." He ended the transmission, slamming the launch. The pod fired, a violent jolt tearing him from the dying station, flinging him into the stars. From the viewport, he watched as Vorath's maw collapsed in on itself, the gravity core detonating in a brilliant, blinding flash. The shockwave rippled outward, scattering debris across space, a silent scream that marked the end of the untouchable. Elias leaned back, eyes closing. It wasn't over, but something had begun. Silence wrapped around Elias like a shroud. The escape pod drifted, tumbling through the cold black of space. The flickering lights above him cast long shadows across his face, every flicker echoing the pulse of his fading strength. His wounds throbbed, every breath a struggle. Yet through the haze of pain, he felt something else, something unfamiliar. Peace. Vorath's maw was gone. Nothing remained but twisted metal and the fractured pride of the Syndicate. The pods, systems whirred softly. He checked the readouts. Life support minimal, propulsion offline. He wasn't going anywhere fast. But that wasn't the plan. He hadn't needed an escape, just a way to watch the end. The AI's voice returned, softer. Now. Long-range sensors detecting Syndicate vessels retreating. No immediate threats detected. Elias smiled faintly. Of course they're running. He reached for the comms again, the controls sticky with blood. His fingers trembled, but he keyed into the secure beacon network, channels only used, in whispers among surviving Terran cells. The message was short. This is Elias Vorn. Vorath's maw is no more. Spread the word. He sent it, letting the signal fly, carried on the winds of static. Somewhere, someone would hear it. They'd know the Syndicate bled. He leaned back, exhaling slowly, his chest tight. He'd done it, not for revenge, though that had its place, but for something greater. Proof that one human could crack the facade of their perfect order. A faint light blinked on the console. Incoming transmission. He frowned, tapping it. A voice, rough and cautious, filtered through. Elias, Vorn, is that you? He recognized it immediately. Saren Cade, once his squad's comms officer, believed dead after the massacre. Saren? His voice broke, disbelief and relief crashing together. We got your signal, she said. We've been hiding, scattered, but we're still here. Elias's heart surged, pushing back the weight of exhaustion. You survived. Not just me, she replied. Others. Colonies thought lost. You lit a fire, Elias. He closed his eyes for a moment, letting it sink in. I've got data, he said. Everything they didn't want us to know. It's yours. We'll come for you, Saren promised. Hold on. The pod shuddered slightly, the last of its power flickering. But Elias wasn't afraid. Not now. Tell them, he said quietly. This is just the beginning. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, cold and beautiful. The Syndicate's grip had loosened. Fear had changed hands. Elias Vorn drifted, not lost, but waiting, for the next battle, for the next defiant spark to ignite the storm. His laugh, faint but strong, echoed into the void.